When things went well for Jeff Burton and his Roush Racing crew chief Frank Stoddard, there was no stopping them. But results wane. The competition catches up, and the results that were once there get harder and harder to come by. Every team experiences it at one time or another, and when it happened to Jeff and Frank, an abyss began to develop between them. In 2002, Frank fell into that void, or was pushed. In 1990, Frank Stoddard was helping longtime friend and fellow New Hampshire native Dana Patton get started in Busch Series South competition when their money ran out. That's when he got a job offer from Jeff Burton, who was driving at the time for Busch Series legend Sam Ard. The deal paid immediate dividends.
I said, all right. So it was just an hour up the road for me, which, oh my God, what a drive. That was horrible because they started like 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd leave at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not an early guy. I'm not an early riser. So anyway, I go with Jeff. We go to the first race at Martinsville. I'm helping with the chassis stuff and things. And we win our first race. So I think at that point, he's like, oh, this guy, if he's not good, he's certainly lucky for me, right?
Although Frank headed back home to help rejuvenate driver Stub Fadden's Busch North career, he and Jeff kept in touch.
Jeff Burton and I stayed in touch all the time. I mean, we would chat on the phone, I don't know, not weekly, but probably monthly or something like that. Certainly every year towards the end when he was looking to when he went to Philmar. And when the Philmar deal was falling apart and he was wanting to do his own team, he wanted me to come down and do the whole thing with him. When he went to Cibola Brothers, he wanted me to come and do the shocks, and I just kept turning him down,
Wow.
I just didn't like any of the opportunities. I really enjoyed working with Stubby. I liked working by myself, and doing my thing. I love my friends around there. I skied all winter, I'd go skiing until 3 in the afternoon a lot. And then with my buddies, and then I'd come in at 3 o'clock and I'd work till, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'd get up the next day and go skiing for a while. So my off seasons were great up there in New England,
The opportunity to join forces again came back around in 1996 when Jeff agreed to a Winston Cup effort with team owner Jack Roush. As much as he had learned up north, Frank still had to play catch-up once he rejoined Jeff on Roush's new team.
And I was going to be the front tire changer. And Busch North changing tires versus Cup changing tires and going against Brad Parrott changing tires, good luck. Oh my God. That was a handful. I mean, that kid was an incredible rear tire changer. And I know he was so freaking annoyed. He was so annoyed because Buddy would make us keep going out there and practicing because I just wasn't up to speed. I mean, I was not good enough, by any stretch of the imagination. I was the best Busch North tire changer they've probably ever seen. But I wasn't ready for what these guys were doing. And I practiced. My wife would tell you, we had a coffee table in the top of our apartment, and I would take and use that as the front of the race car, and I'd take a pit gun home, and I would practice that coffee table, trying to get around the car. I'd act like I'm hitting lug nuts on the coffee table.
When Buddy Parrott transitioned from Jeff's crew chief into a management role at Roush Racing at the end of the 1997 season, Frank got the nod as his replacement. Together, Jeff and Frank won 14 Winston Cup races, including a stellar 6-win season and a third-place showing in the point standings in 1999. They won $3 million bonuses from series sponsor R.J. Reynolds. Times were good.
So I think that Jeff and the bond with us was incredible. 97, 98, 99, 2000. I mean, if I was finishing a sentence, he was, and vice versa, I knew what he needed in the car. I knew what he needed from me on the radio just to keep him motivated, to find that extra half a tenth. I managed the races. I helped him manage the races, extremely well, to where if we didn't need to pass somebody, I was letting him know, don't pass that guy right now. We're going to ride in 5th right now. We got to stop coming up. Let's not wear our stuff out. No need to get ahead of this guy. The two of us were collectively, I think, very smart collectively on how we manage the races.
to this day, I think Frank, if I owned a Cup team, I don't know, Frank might not work for me, but if I owned a Cup team, I would call Frank, and he would be my strategist. Like, I'd have him, he would be my strategy guy. And if he said pit, we're going to pit. Because I think Frank was one of the very best strategy guys in the history of NASCAR. He was just unbelievable at it, and really, really competitive guy.
For most teams, it's hard to pinpoint when that inevitable downward trajectory begins. For Jeff, Frank, and the 99 team, it was no different. Problems that didn't used to happen began to happen with increasing regularity. Rockingham, 2001. Vegas. Pocono, 2002. At Michigan in 2002, Jeff's leading with 5 laps to go when his engine sours. He manages to coax the car home in 4th place, but still. After that, there was Bristol. And finally, the 2002 Southern 500. It was Frank's last race at Roush Racing. Here's Jeff's side of the story. How difficult was that season and that move for you?
Well, it was really difficult, and it was also, I've talked about the things that I went through, and that was one of those things that I went through, and I didn't handle it as well as I should have. Frank and I had had a conversation, quite a bit before that, and I had said to him, look, we have to, if we can't get going, we're going to have to do something different, but that was all that I ever said, and Frank deserved more than that. But unfortunately, we just weren't running well. We had not run well long enough to where we had to do something. And that guy's been me before as a driver, and in this case it was the crew chief. But we had to do something, but that did not get handled as well as it should have, and most of that was on my shoulders.
You better believe that Frank has a response locked and loaded.
You look at and I remember meeting with him, and I was shocked. No idea that I was getting let go, or when I say let go, Jack didn't want me to leave the company. He just was Jeff wanted to make a change, right? And
now, was this at the track, or was this?
No, this was at the shop. I get back after Darlington on Tuesday, I think, or maybe even Monday, and they call me in the conference room, and I think Jeff Smith's in there, and Jack and Jeff, and some dog and pony show, blah blah blah. Performance hasn't been there. And
Frank Stoddard was replaced by Paul Andrews, who had been with Alan Kwiecki during the driver's epic rise in the sport and eventual 1992 championship. Andrews had most recently been with Dale Earnhardt Incorporated Steve Park. And again, Frank had a response to the move.
Paul's got the chance to do everything. I read all these things in the paper where they're going to change the cars and they're going to do this. And, he sees some things when he first got there, that they can improve on, and they're going to bring some technology in, and they're going to do, this and that. I don't even know what the technology was. I don't know what the technology was they brought in, because they went in 72 races. He had 4 top 5 finishes and 14 top 10s and only led 154 laps in 72 races. Okay? In 97 to 02, 5 years of me, 4,366 laps led. 17 wins, 77 top 5s, and 118 top 10s. But again, just go off of 02. 25 races, 3 top 10s, 10 top 10s, and in 72 races, they could only put together 14 top 10s. Good choice. That's what I say.
Frank Stoddard would never again win a Cup race. And it took another 5 years and an organization change to Richard Childress Racing for Jeff Burton to make it back to victory lane. It is possible that Jeff Burton and Frank Stoddard were never better apart than they were together. My name is Rick Houston, and I hope you've enjoyed this release from the Scene Vault. Be sure to subscribe. And let us know what you think happened to cause the split between Jeff and Frank in the comments section below.